Wonderful. Thanks, James.
So thank you for making it. I know you've got a busy schedule and everything. And of course, I enjoyed reading your book. And I know you've been doing this for about 10 years. Is that right?
That is. Well, I have discovered CE5 in 2010, as well as a few other things that go and relate to CE5. So yes, I would say that I've been practicing the CE5 protocols for about 10 years, which again, like I said, involves a whole lot of other expansions that happens within and with one person when one does that. So I have been practicing the CE5 for 10 years. Yeah.
Okay. And you just came out with a book, The Formula.
Yes.
How did this come to you? Like,
Well,
what
that
this idea, inspiration?
so as I mentioned, 10 years ago when I discovered CE5s, I did not only discover CE5, but that I discovered a few other aspects of myself that we could call spirituality and consciousness, as well as metaphysics and practical philosophy that went hand in hand with working with the CE5 initiative. And upon my discoveries, I also came across an individual, a channeler called Daryl Anker, who channels a being called Bashar. And that being is claims to be extraterrestrial in nature, although there's no need to believe that that is so, to listen to the information in the sense that the information that that being has brought through has really been a massive factor in my life in the last 10 years. It really has allowed me to expand my consciousness in new ways. It's allowed me to see the world and myself in new ways, which has allowed me to experience my world and myself in new ways. And one of the primary teachings that that teacher has brought through is really the ability to continuously take action on your purpose, continuously take action on what excites you and what your passion is about. And over these 10 years, I've really realized not only by applying this formula, but that formula is the formula to life. It really is the best way, the most effortless way, and the quickest way that one person could really align themselves with their purpose and with their true core frequency on this earth. You know, everyone is unique here. The listeners that are tuning in are totally unique. You, Kenny, you're totally unique. There's no other Kennys out there. And so you come in on this plane with a very particular purpose and a unique frequency to share with the world. And your gift is who you are. And so the formula, it really is just about going back home and really tuning back into who you are at your core self and living that, embodying that authentically and giving that to the world. And that's what the formula is from my perspective.
All right. Um, so I wrote down a couple of questions, took some notes.
Thank you so much, by the way, for reading the book. It's really great.
Well, I realized you've mentioned Vipassana, if I'm saying that, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, a type of meditation.
Vipassana, yes.
Can you
Vipassana.
can you tell us a little bit more about that meditation technique?
So that meditation technique originated, it's in India and comes from, if I'm not mistaken, it has Buddhist origins. And basically, that technique really is a technique that allows a person to go, well, first of all, it's a technique that is taught over 10 days. So a person would book themselves into a Vipassana center, and they would go through a 10-day program where they would meditate for 10 hours a day. And during those 10 hours a day, they would be taught techniques to really only focus on the breath and on the body, and to recognize ultimately that everything is impermanent. This conversation is impermanent. The breath that you just took is impermanent. The chair you're sitting on is impermanent. Everything has a beginning and everything has an end from that perspective. And if you recognize that that is so, then all of the pain and suffering that one experiences is also impermanent, meaning that that this too will pass. And if one really recognizes this and one practices impermanence into their daily lives, then it really allows someone to not take things so seriously and to be able to navigate life in a much more effortless and peaceful way, because you recognize that if at a certain stage a situation is triggering you in a negative way, simply recognizing that that situation is not infinite and will not last eternally can bring about a peace of mind and comfort that that too will pass. And the more you practice that, the more practical it becomes into your everyday life, to really allow yourselves to be your own centered being that is not really affected by the world outside, but recognizes that the world outside is a total reflection of the world inside.
Good stuff. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I did want to say congratulations, by the way, above anything else, really,
Thank you.
on the book, the family life, everything. Yes, of course.
Thank you.
Really, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
So you also do a plant-based business, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Correct.
Right?
That's
It's
correct.
about getting away from eating meat.
We could say that it's more about finding a sustainable way to live on this earth. I mean, you are aware that farming livestock at the moment is unfortunately not sustainable at this stage. It started way back when our society and population was less than 1 billion people. We are now nearly 9 billion people on this earth. Farmland is becoming way more challenging to farm because of climate change. Land itself is reducing, and animal agriculture has a lot of very bad negative effects on our planet's ecosystem. Basically, we're destroying forests to make land for cows to graze, and those cows then unfortunately fart methane, which is not the best thing for the environment and for the air. And then after we inflict great amounts of suffering on these poor beasts, just so that we can have a meal at night that we don't think about again. So in that way, it's not a sustainable system to feed the world. And so plant-based foods, to me, is a sustainable system that can feed the world. It's simply going back to their original ways of farming. It's farming plants and using those plants to make delicious foods. So I represent a company in Mauritius called Infinite Foods Mauritius. We are an African-based company, and we are the main partners of Beyond Meat, which is an American-based company. And Beyond Meat, as you know, I'm sure from the States, is one of the only companies in the world that has managed to really recreate meat, but solely made from plants. So they completely bypassed the animal, they bypassed animal agriculture, and directly went to the plants to recreate meat that is very much similar to actual beef, for example, or meat in texture, taste, and nutrition. So that is something that I'm currently working on full time in Mauritius to establish a company that focuses on supplying and assisting the various industries here with plant-based foods. And our company in Africa's ultimate goal is food security for the 1 billion consumers in Africa through plant-based foods.
Wow.
Yeah.
How long have you been doing that?
Just over a year now. Just
Just
over
over
a
a
year.
year?
Yeah, definitely part of my passion. Before that, I was working. I had started a food-based company for 3 years in Cape Town as well, and then I moved to Mauritius and took on this new position, which I was very excited to take on.
You just moved back there, from what I understand, right?
I was in Cape Town for 10 years, and I am originally from Mauritius. I moved into Cape Town when I was 20 years old, and now I've just moved back to Mauritius with my beautiful wife, and we had our first son that was born in March, so a month after we arrived here. He's a lockdown baby because we were in the middle of lockdown, so it was a real blessing because first of all, the roads were empty when I was driving to the hospital, and number two, I got to spend a whole 2 months with him every day without any interruption. I mean, normally a father would have to go back to work, but I was blessed enough that you couldn't actually leave your house. So I was blessed to have the ability to spend the first 2 months of my son's life with him every day, which was really great.
Wow. Nice.
Yeah,
Wonderful. That's beautiful. Yeah,
yes,
not many
I
people
love
get an opportunity to do that. So really, yeah, that was a
that.
blessing in disguise.
Real blessing. Yeah. And that's also part of the formula. It's really having the ability to train your mind and train yourselves to recognize the positive or the silver lining, as they call it, in every single situation because it exists. Every single situation and every single circumstances that everyone has ever experienced is not just positive or negative. It actually contains both ideas. And so if you as a neutral party can recognize that, you can then have more awareness and more ability to choose that you would like to experience the positive outcome of this circumstance instead of the negative outcome. We are trained on our planet to immediately recognize the negative and think that that's the only aspect to the circumstance that exists. But in truth, the positive also exists. And so if you can train your mind to recognize that and use the positive to advantage, then that's what you'll experience. As simple as that.
Some things in life do take a positive and negative charge to activate. So I gotta, yeah, yeah. Um,
Yeah,
Balance,
definitely.
right? It brings us
And
back to balance.
absolutely, absolutely. I mean, of course, it's not the best thing to always just be positive and completely forget about the negative. Actually, I think that as you grow spiritually and consciously as a unique individual, you actually learn to embody both aspects. You learn to take on more of the negativity and the positivity and bring that into balance within yourself. You don't actually just shy away from the negative and only focus on the positive. No, you integrate both. That way you can choose. You have more of an ability to choose.
One of the things that I liked about the formula was, I believe you said something along the lines, the universe loves you enough to give you the choice on how you
Correct.
experience it. Um,
Correct.
and yeah, I'm not to misquote the book or anything, but it was along those lines. I don't remember
Yeah,
the
it's
exact
basically the
wording,
idea
but
that, well, it is the idea that we are, because we are unique individuals, we are a reflection of this incredible universe. And the biggest gift that this universe has given us is that life is actually meaningless. And that's not to say that there's no meaning to life, but the universe has offered you the opportunity of adding your own meaning to your own life. Your life didn't come with any predefined meaning from the universe saying you will do this and you will be that. You were given the opportunity to be and do anything you want, just like the universe. And so recognizing that you have choice is a very empowering feeling, because then you can actually start taking choices instead of thinking you have no choice and just responding to what your reality offers you in a way that we're trained to, which is most often than not in a very um, accepting way that things are the way they are and that you have no power over them and that you can't change them, when in fact nothing's further from the truth.
well, I gotta admit, it's just the timing of it was great. Meaning, I mean, you get into if you're working a job or you're looking to change your life for the positive. I mean, I'm starting a new project. You're literally my second interview, as you know. So, it really it really resonated with me in terms of, yeah, following just your
Your
passion,
passion.
following your interest and going from there. Um, yeah, and I think right now it's really important for us as a people, as a society, that people find, what that is, what excites them, what, gets their blood going.
What drives them, because our uniqueness, clearly, if we were all the same, we'd all be doing the same thing. And this world would never exist the way that it is. The reason why you and I can have this conversation right now and other people can tune into this conversation is because someone dared to follow the excitement and create whatever technology we're using for it. So everyone has a unique purpose in that way. That's why I speak about a guide to your purpose, because your excitement is not a random feeling. You don't feel excitement just out of randomness. You feel excitement because that's what your higher self is literally telling you, that that is the path that is cued to your frequency. That is the path that is made for you. And so if you take action on that, then it will continue supporting you on that path, and that path will support you beyond your wildest dreams. And so that's why I speak about following your excitement. Following your excitement is not always necessarily something where you have to be jumping up and down. I'm right now following my highest excitement, and so are you. But we're quite peaceful. You're in a very peaceful state, and so it's not really about the energy that you're exhibiting in every single moment, but it's really having the ability to always do what feels best for you, and trusting that your intuition, your higher self, knows what is best for you, and taking action on that, and getting the feedback from your reality. Because as we know, reality is simply a reflection of who we are inside.
Yes. We see the world as we are, not as it is, but as we are.
Correct. The
And
world.
hmm, I wanted to ask you, so how did you get into CE5? Like what really, like, where did it begin for you?
That's a very good question. Thanks, Kenny. I got into C5, so of course I came across Bashar, who I was speaking about at the beginning, who was a really big catalyst in my journey of discovery and into my journey of becoming a more conscious being, I would say, and more of myself. Um, I was very much fascinated by UFOs my whole life. I've had UFOs encounters throughout the different stages of my life, as early as I can remember, when I was 6 years old. My mom also has had many UFO encounters. It's not something I really thought about throughout my early childhood and teenagehood. But when I was 20 years old, I came across Bashar, and I realized that he claimed that he was an extraterrestrial. And the information he was he was sharing with me was so deep and so it was really hitting home. So I really pondered, what if that was true? What if he really said he is who he is, you know? And so I remember I just did some. I just started with research, and then I came across on TV this series called Ancient Aliens, which got me to dive a bit deeper into the recognition that, hey, yes, maybe we're not alone. You know, I've always thought my whole life we can't be alone, but clearly, if we were really not alone, our governments would tell us. You know, we would all be aware if there are ETs around. That's the basic notion that I had, and I'm pretty sure that is the basic notion that everybody has. That their government and their people that are elected would tell them the truth. And little did I know that it's a little bit more complex than that. It's not that they just don't want to tell you the truth. It's just that that subject brings about so much complexity that it's just not that simple. And so by discovering that maybe, hey, maybe we are not alone, I of course did a whole lot of research and finally came across Dr. Stephen Greer, who then spoke about CE5s. I listened to a lot of his talks. I literally listened to everything that it was available on YouTube at that time from him and a few other individuals as well. I then came across CE5. It interested me beyond anything I could think of. It was really the most exciting thing I could ever do with myself at that time. And so I remember the one day I was going for a haircut nearby, and there was this little stand that was selling lasers, and I was like, "Oh, this is the laser that Dr. Greer uses. Is the green lasers wonderful? I'll buy one and I'll try tonight." So I literally bought one, went for my haircut, came back home, got my bag packed with my blankets, my incense, my crystals, my lasers, and all of my spiritual tools. Put my bag on my back, climbed up the ladder, went on the roof, set up my space, put my crystals, had a little intention setting. The sun was setting, laid back on my back, and just started observing the sky. And that evening, I was the first time I ever encountered something. You know, I don't know what it was at the time. It was just like this incredible thing that just appeared. It was just this light that caught my eye, and it was definitely still, and then it started traveling. So I was like, whoa, that is very different. I immediately intuitively recognized, okay, it is what I'm here to do. This is obviously happening. This is incredible. I can't believe this is actually happening, but it is. So I'm going to focus on that. I thanked it. I really tried to be as present as I could, and it just faded away. I was like, oh, wow, this was truly incredible. I really was so chuffed with myself that I had this experience, you know. And literally 5 minutes later, in front of me, there's a big mountain called Table Mountain, which is a very much so a big energy portal in Cape Town. And that particular portion of the mountain right in front of my sight of my visual sight was a very steep part of the mountain. No one could ever hike there. No cars could, of course, be there. It was just impossible for anyone to be there. And I just saw this very faint light, very faint, on the mountain. I became very curious. So I just took my laser and I literally just did one flash to it. And as soon as I did that flash, it responded immediately with another flash that was much brighter than mine. And I was a bit startled. So I was like, whoa, this is interesting. So I did two flashes again, and it did two flashes and went back to dim. And then another dim light started immediately appeared next to it. And they just started moving like this, really in a straight line. So I was like, whoa, this is crazy. But okay, you know, my ego and everything, I was still rookie. You get excited, you're like, okay, let's do this. Awesome. I just started flashing it, and it responded to all of my flashes. And the one thought came to mind after a minute of doing this was, shit, what if they just come and land on my roof? I'm not ready for this. And that's literally the conversation that I had with myself. I'm not ready for this. And that's when I got super freaked out. I was like, okay, this is too far. This is too much. This is more than I could ever deal with right now. So I literally just said, guys, thank you so much. I'm done. I just laid down. I looked away,
Wow.
put my leg, and I was like, that's enough. And literally a minute later, I looked back and they were gone. And then I realized, of course, after a few years, you realize they would have never just come and landed on your roof. Like there's a whole system of respect and energy and frequency that goes with it. But at the time, I was not aware of it. So really, the fact that they could just come and land and have a face-to-face physical contact, that freaked me out way too much. That I had to actually stop the experience. So that was my very, very first CE5 experience. And from that day, I was, of course, hooked, and then did it every single evening thereafter for a few years, until such time that I felt very comfortable with the practice, and understood that there was a mutual respect between us and these entities that we were contacting. And that's when I decided to form a group in Cape Town and train people and go on special CE5 retreats that were between 2 and 5 days long in remote regions around Cape Town. So I did that for a few years as well.
Nice.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing.
And that was just your first, that I mean, from jump, that was your
First ever
first
UFO
experience.
encounter
They
that is was
responded
conscious.
like
That was conscious
that was your first
immediately.
time trying it, that you got
My
something
very
immediately?
very first one. I just that's why I was startled. I was like, this should normally. I mean, I don't know. This is, but I must say, I was very much before then. I mean, for a good year before that, I was doing a lot of inner work. I was doing a lot of healing. I was really raising my frequency every day. I was eating very light foods. I was meditating every day. So I was really raising my frequency beforehand, and now today I really recognize and understand that a high frequency is really the key to a successful C5 contact. So yeah.
I have to agree with, yeah, I have to agree with you on that. Um,
Mm.
being that some of my best interactions have been when I'm at a high vibration,
Yeah,
and yet either doing self work or just in a good, like, part of my life, in a good, yeah, in a good place. But in
yeah,
every instance, I've been in a good place, and I try not to initiate anything when I'm not. I mean, we all have, we,
yeah,
whether it's a long day, whether it's work, whether, personal situations, they're constantly changing. Um,
absolutely.
so, like, what would you say to some of our beginners? Because, like, I practice with people, and I started going out here, and just like over time, more and more people have gotten involved, and I've had a couple of people that, have accepted, the experience, and, they've, yeah, they've just, but others, for the people that haven't had that, I guess that either a visual sighting, or they're just, yeah, they've been trying this for a couple of months now. Maybe they haven't had any interaction. What would you say to our beginners that maybe don't have that
I,
experience?
It's a really great question, Kenny, and I'm sure a lot of people are going to hopefully find value from that question. I think that what I would tell them is a few things. Number one is make every time you go out for a C5, make that your first time. Every time needs to be like the first time. If you are telling yourself that you have a history of having tried this for 3 months and nothing came through, that's what you're bringing into the next session. And that energy is an energy that's going to ground you to a lower frequency, which is not going to enable you to reach that frequency that is optimal for them to be able to even hear you. It's not that they don't want to show up, it's just that they can't hear you. So, for someone that wants to really make contact, the most optimal thing you can do is raise your frequency in any way, shape, or form that you can and that feels best for you, whether it's meditation, whether it's yoga, whether it's painting, whether it's singing, whether it's gardening, whatever really puts you in a very good state, puts you in a very happy,
But
peaceful, and positive. What excites you? That's really, for me, the key to making successful contact is to not have any expectations, to tell yourself you're just going out under the stars to see the stars, which first of all are incredible to even begin with. If you think about it, we have a ceiling that is blanketed with stars. That's incredible to just be under that and see that. So if you go with that basis that you're not needing to have any sort of experience, you have no expectation, and just going out to connect with the stars and any other beings if it's safe and fine for them to do so, and if they hear your call, great. If you go with that basis, I know that it doesn't sound too grounding, but if you go with that basis, I think that that's when you really raise your frequency and open yourself up for any experience that is suited to you in that moment. So my key takeaways would be no expectations. Make every session like it's your first session, and raise your frequency beforehand as much as you can. If you're an individual that generally goes out and does a session after a long day of work and you're still in that space, try and schedule your session for the day after, and take that evening to meditate and visualize your session the next day, and take that morning to have a nice breakfast, do some yoga, really focus on the session you're going to have. That would be my key takeaway. I mean, if you look at the group Rama from South America, they literally prepare for a week or two before. They fast for 7 days before. They meditate every single day. They visualize. They channel. They really, really raise their frequency, and they take this quite seriously. And I'm not saying that everyone needs to take it seriously, but if you want to have a casual experience, um, prepare at a minimum for it by raising your frequency beforehand. I hope that
Thank
helps.
you. Thank you. So with that being said, can you tell me like some of the experiences that you've had? Because I mean, and before, I don't want to get ahead of myself either. So I'll come back to that. But like Vipassana and different methods of meditation. Do you
Yes.
use the same, is it always the same method of do you always do like transcendental meditation, Vipassana? What are some of your contact methods?
To be honest, it evolves and it changed over the years. As I practiced and became more familiar with them, funny enough, the paradox is I had to do less of them. And I naturally, I would say, when I'm doing a session, I'm naturally in a meditative space and I'm naturally very present and grounded. And it really is, for me, it just takes me 2 to 5 minutes to get in that state. I lie down or I sit down, I ground my energy into the present, I focus on my body, on the weight of my body, I focus on my breath, I focus on the sounds without really focusing on them. I just focus on them to tune into the present moment. I ultimately focus on my breath and I tune myself into a state of peace. Once I get in that state of peace, I will naturally go into a reflective mode of my day, my week, my month, my year, my life. I will just really look at myself in a holistic way and I will naturally think of things, or I guess you could call them downloads, but receive downloads of how I can improve myself, how I can improve my life, because that's my excitement. My excitement is to be the best person I can be every single day. I don't need to be better than anyone else but myself or who I was yesterday. Not that who I was yesterday is bad, but you know what I mean. I want to evolve. I want to grow. I want to learn more about myself. And so when I'm in that state, that's where I go. I go into a space where I'm reflecting on my life and reflecting on things that excite me and not really focusing too much on whether I'm going to see something. I put the intention beforehand. I send out a message. I thank them for being present in my life, and I share that I am currently under the stars. I'm currently present. I'm currently available if they want to communicate and if they want to be in the space with me. I welcome them and I'm open to that, but I'm not fully or wholly focused on that as the mission of my session. My session is really dedicated to myself and to my growth. And I think that that's when I have had my most powerful experiences, is when I've really been focusing on myself, focusing on my life, and focusing on how I can not only add value to myself, but to the world, as that is one of my passions as well. And it always came in the form of me having a particular thought about something that felt very exciting. And immediately in that moment, I would have a sighting. There would be a flashbulbs, or there would be something that happens where in the space of a minute or two, everything would just happen. I mean, I could have a full night of contact experiences literally compressed into 2 minutes with regards to having 2 or 3 ships coming around, a few flashbulbs in different areas, a few downloads, a few feelings, because it really is also a feeling in the heart and the body that you feel when you are having those experiences. You know,
It is.
it's not like an everyday situation. You really have that feeling of connection. You have that feeling of love, of gratitude, and of brotherhood, and of cosmic relations. And yeah, that's really that's when I have heightened experiences. That's really what happens. There's a myriad of different ships and different entities that are there at the same time. Yeah.
Yeah, I was watching
But
one of
at
your
first,
videos. You had talked about a I'm not sure how to say it. I guess a craft or a demonstration, but it was going from west to east in one of your videos. You were talking about a demonstration that was going from west to east, and I found that curious because a lot I'm a lot of the interactions and demonstrations that I've seen have and while I've had different ones, the most common one is orange and he always comes in, or it always comes in from the west and it's traveling east. So
okay,
yeah.
that's
Um
interesting.
what
I
color,
don't
what I mean,
Orange for sure. I mean, I've also definitely had orange and yellow orbs. I mean, very, very big ones. I remember one time it was my birthday, literally the day of my birthday. We had taken a few friends up to the West Coast National Park, which is 2 hours away from Cape Town, very segregated place We had our own little hut, if you want to call it that way. There was no one around. And that evening, the girls were inside and the boys were outside. You can imagine, out of all my group of friends, not everyone is a CE5 person or oriented person, although they are aware that I'm very much into it. And so we were outside. All the boys were inside, the girls were inside, and because it was my birthday, I just told all the boys, "Look, guys, you may or may not be into it, but tonight is my birthday. You know what I enjoy doing, and so tonight I'd love to see a beautiful orb that comes from there and flies straight over our head." And I was saying that half jokingly, I was kind of saying that to the ETs themselves, "Hey guys, it's my birthday. If you want to do something like that, you can do this or do that." But at the same time, it was an experiment, more for me as a CE5 researcher to see if what I was actually visualizing and saying that I would like to happen would actually happen. And in the most crazy way, 10 minutes later, exactly what I said happened. A very bright orange orb, probably 5 times brighter than any other stars in the sky at this time, literally came in pretty low from a particular direction. When I said, it crossed right over our heads and gently went to continue traveling. And in that moment, my camera was inside, my night vision camera. And I was like, should I get my camera? Should I not get my camera? A part of me inside of me, it was my higher self, said, no, just enjoy, relax. It's your birthday gift. Just actually appreciate it. And then my ego mind said, no, I've got to capture this for my audience. I've got to capture this for my YouTube channel. So I just ran inside to fetch my camera while my friends were outside. And as I came back outside, it had dimmed down to a very small star, which was now going the other way. And what my friends told me happened when I went inside is it literally slowed down, it dimmed down, it stopped, and it changed direction and went the other way. And then just disappeared as I came back out. So that was my lesson, my birthday lesson also, is when you get told to enjoy it, just enjoy it.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
And
So that was a fun experience.
well, I think it's yeah, I was expecting you to say it was orange. I was kind of, part of me wanted to, yeah, because that's it's the same color, like amber orange, but I've given
Yeah.
it a nickname. I won't say
Is
it
it
here, but yeah, the members of my team know what I'm talking about.
wonderful? That's great. That's brilliant. Literally.
Um, so the CE5 Academy, that's been going on for a couple of years now, and I'm glad you stepped up and did that, because we really needed we needed something like that to just for people to go to. And
Yeah.
do you
Yeah.
want to tell us what gave you that idea, or
All the formula. That's all part of the formula. It was just
yeah?
an excitement to share what I've learned and to share it with the world and my friends and my community or whoever could gain value from it. So I remember one day, I mean, I had been brainstorming doing this for months before I actually started. And you always have this saying that someone will always want to start when it's perfect, but that will never happen. You actually have to start before you're ready. And one day I went to a session, a healing session, and I remember that the lady that was giving me the healing session said she got a message to tell me that today was the day and I just got to do it. And I knew exactly what she was talking about, even if she had no clue what she was telling me, but I knew exactly what she was talking about. So literally 10 minutes after my session, I just went into another room, put my cell phone up, put it there, and just recorded my first video, which was 4 basic steps on how to do ET contact or how to do CE5. And today, that's one of my most viewed video, and it's the most unprofessional video you can possibly find on the topic.
Was that the one with the you're wearing the jacket, the white and black jacket in front of the whiteboard,
Yeah,
or what have
yeah.
you?
I had prepared a whiteboard even with pink marker. You could barely see it on the video. I totally forgot to reference the whiteboard. It was just so in the moment, that was just, I just needed to get it out there. So I just did it. And it was the very first video I had edited as well in my life. So the editing was of course not on par with other YouTube videos, but I just did it and I put it out there and I was really satisfied that I did put it out there. And that then led me to continue the channel by creating other topics and other contents that I believe other people wanted to hear about, and they told me they wanted to hear about. So I then subsequently did a few other videos. I showcased other CE5 practitioners around the world and their videos, and it's still a project that's expanding and growing. To be honest, it's still a work in progress. We could say that. So yeah,
Always.
thanks so much for that.
Yeah. Well, I've watched it progress. So, and I've enjoyed watching it progress. I even went back further on in your queue, and I was watching a video with Bob Dean.
Yes,
Um,
yes,
he knew his.
correct.
I
He
just
knew.
yeah. He was when I was like getting my research, my ground research in, and just yeah, checking out, investigating,
Yeah,
the issue and the whole subject of UFOs. It was Bob Dean was one of the like
yeah,
just legitimate.
main pillar.
Yeah, yeah, he was definitely. I mean, him that Greer's contributed so much, and
Yeah,
really like that's what him, Bob Dean. I mean, there's a number of different people that I can mention, but
yeah.
really, like it was the assessment that Bob Dean talked about, his experience while he was at the um
In the
I'm
military.
not going to get into it and ruin it or anything, but yeah, just and watching him progress as he talked to people, because he ended up having his own interactions later
Yeah,
on.
absolutely. We went on board ships and a few other things. So, I mean, there were, and again, that subject is so rife, as you know, with disinformation. But at the same time that I was into CE5, I was, of course, very much into the UFO field. And in the UFO field, of course, you had guys like Bob Dean, Surgeon Clifford Stone, um, various other people, Paola Harris, and a few other individuals that I was following quite closely with regards to their knowledge and how much information could I learn from them to then apply that into CE5, whilst at the same time really getting very deep spiritual teachings from Bashar, who also then claimed to be an extraterrestrial and was confirming a few of the things that Bob Dean was speaking about, or that Stephen Greer was speaking about at CE5, or Paola Harris. So it was just a whole circle of information from very different sources that were really confirming the reality that not only are we not alone, but they are here and ready to welcome us into a more cosmic, a broader cosmic neighborhood if we are willing to accept that challenge. And the only challenge that is preventing us from moving forward is really our ability to grow up, basically, as a planet, because kind of could say we're in our teenage phase. We're killing ourselves over our own resources, and there's not much peace on this planet with regards to um, geopolitical situations. So really from a higher perspective and a broader perspective, it's pretty clear that our planet as a whole right now is not suited to be a broader cosmic player if we really are honest with ourselves. And that's why I think that if everyone that knows this recognizes that and takes the responsibility to be the peace they wish to be in the world, then that will create a much bigger bridge to becoming a cosmic society. And that's also inspired me to start an organization in 2013 in Cape Town called Shift, which was upbridged to CE5, but never really ended up that way. It was more than it became an events-based company that was teaching people about all the different mindfulness practices they could take on to become the peace they wished to be. Our motto was world peace through self-peace. You literally, if you practice meditation or if you practice mindful activities, you will naturally become a more peaceful person, which will have its own impact and its own impact in the world. It's a yeah, it's there's definitely we all impact each other. So clearly, if you have a village of 100 people and 100 people learn to become peaceful, then that village is going to be a peaceful one. So that was kind of the idea behind it. And with Shift, we organized 12 or 13 meditations in Camps Bay on the beach there in Cape Town with in attendance over 1,500 people each time. So it was quite an incredible thing to go
Oh,
through and
wow.
to witness all these people on this beach meditating with us for world peace. It was really special.
What year was that? And are you still doing that?
No, that was in Cape Town between 2012 to 2015. If you look for Shift on Facebook, you'll find us, Shift SA. Or if you go to YouTube and you type in Full Moon Beach Meditation Cape Town, we have 3 different videos of them
And it's
on YouTube.
Shift, SHIFT. Am I hearing you correctly?
That's it. Shift SAHIFT SA for South Africa. So that because there's a lot of different shifts on
Okay.
Facebook. With SA, you'll get it on Facebook and on YouTube.
All right. Well, thank you. And
Thank you.
so Mauritius, I mean, you're from there. Um, like I looked it up on the map. I got to tell you, I was like, where?
So Mauritius is a tiny island in the Indian Ocean. We could say we form part of Africa, but we're not really attached to the continent, if you want to see it that way. I'm pretty sure you know where Madagascar is, next to Africa on the west coast. We're just a little bit more west of that. I mean, more east, sorry. And there's a few different islands around. We're one of them. And in terms of population, we have around 1.2 million people, and we are actually one of the fastest growing economies in Africa and one of the most stable as well. So it's a place that since I was between when I was, let's say, 5 years old to me now being 30, it's developed exponentially in so many different ways. So I left Mauritius when I was 20 years old to move to Cape Town with my family, and I recently moved back to Mauritius. It was it's the same island, but in a very different context as well. But I must say, I do recognize that this is my home. This is where I chose to incarnate, so to speak, and I recognize that I also have some deep work to do here, which I'm very excited about. I love the culture. I love the people. It's a very diverse culture. It taught me so many things in terms of intrapersonal relationships, really diverse relationship with different ethnic groups. It really taught me to love everyone and everything just because it is, not to see myself as a white guy and as the Indian guy and as the Muslim guy. Everyone is Mauritian. And that's what I love about Mauritius. Everyone knows that they're Mauritians first and that their ethnic group comes second.
Thank you for that. Well, I got a couple more questions I'll try to get in, and yeah, I won't keep you. So,
But something I could suggest to you, if ever it's in your flow, I'd be very happy to hop on another call at another time and have a lengthier discussion if that's something you'd like to do.
absolutely, yeah, because I don't want, by all means, because I know it's a progressive thing, I'm going to come back. Like I do invite you to come back and continue, and for us to have other discussions in the future.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Definitely. And thank you. Um, so let's talk about recognizing contact.
Yes.
Like being present, being calm, appreciate the experience, of course. Can you go over some of that with us? Like how would you like recognize contact? It's not always something visual, of course. Can you
No.
tell us some
Yeah,
other
that is a
means
great question. Thanks, Kenny. The first word that's coming to mind is synchronicity. I don't know if I'm pretty sure you're aware of synchronicity, and I'm pretty sure all of your viewers are also aware of what synchronicity is, which is the recognition that everything exists here and now. And synchronicity to me is really a big factor in terms of contact because okay, we all experience normal, I would say, synchronicity into our daily lives. But when you make contact, that synchronicity is really heightened. The experiences that happen, the things that happen around you in the space of a minute, 5 minutes, or 10 minutes, sometimes are way too synchronous to be misunderstood or to be misrepresented. Meaning that there are things that happen in a sequence of events that are way too obvious for you to ignore. That's what I'm saying. So contact is actually pretty easy to recognize, and oftentimes than not, the reason why we will not recognize contact is because we're allowing our minds and our ego to come into the experience and dictate or judge what's happening. A lot of the times, I'm pretty sure you will see something flying up, and you'll be like, "Oh, is this a satellite, or is this, or is it going to do that? Is it going to do that?" I mean, I'm speaking from experience, instead of just appreciating and being with the experience and allowing that to evolve the way it needs to, and not necessarily needing to say, "Oh, is this contact or not?" Let the experience happen, let it unfold, and then in retrospect, look back and then make your decision as to whether you think you had contact or not. That would be my advice.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Lastly, can you give us 4 steps to make easy contact with ETs?
Thanks. I did that video in 2017. I don't know if I'll remember the exact step that I said then, but my basic 4 steps now would again to raise your frequency as much as you can, meaning have a meditation practice or have a yoga practice, eat light foods, fast before if you can, really visualize yourself having contact, really do. Number 2, I would say, is of course find a comfortable spot wherever you feel more comfortable. Most of the times that's at home or in your garden. My most incredible experiences have happened in my garden, believe it or not. So really the location is important. You need to feel safe and you need to feel comfortable. I remember I tried to have contact in very remote locations where I wasn't actually feeling safe and nothing happened. So have a location that you feel safe in. Number 3 is have all the tools and things that you think you need to have that will help you to raise your frequency, like your incense or your crystals. And number 4, tune into the present moment and allow what is to be. Kenny, I've got 15 seconds before my phone switches off. I'm really sorry about that. It was really lovely to speak with you guys and everyone tuning in. I am so grateful for this opportunity. I wish you all the best for this project, and I'm so excited to be back on the channel very soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ashley.
Much love to you guys.